Why, happy Wednesday. It is hump day. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and I'm choosing to talk about Russia and Ukraine. I don't know if I've had one of these videos in a while. Well, I think I did have one last week. I don't remember when I posted it. But according to some propaganda from the West, it seems like Russia is losing the war. You go talk to some see reports that are not really linked to mainstream that kind of paints it's not really the case. I don't think Russia or Ukraine is winning or losing because it's an act of war. I mean, are there good days and bad days? Absolutely. But that doesn't really determine who's going to win the war. I mean, you could win all the battles except for the last one and just lose the war right there. I mean, just look at Napoleon and Nazi Germany. They were winning the war until they weren't winning the war. And the same thing could be said about Russia and Ukraine. With that being said, Russia will have to rely on nukes, cyber attacks, and China since the military is being thrashed in Ukraine, U.S. Intel director says. I mean, is that legit information or is that just hoping that that's the case? Because I'm hearing reports that United States intelligence is being heavily relied on Ukraine, telling them what's going on in the country. Military losses in Ukraine will leave it reliant on asymmetric options. The U.S. Intel director said Russia will need to rebuild for years to pose a substantial conventional military threat. She added, other U.S. officials made similar comments about Russia's future as a military power. Not to mention a very low birth rate. But that's the thing is Europe, United States, China, Japan, Australia, and Canada have really low birth rates. I think it's like 1.2 birth rates, which means for every two people, there's one child. Which is why you have in Texas it's trying to promote large families through tax incentives. But I don't think having a strong military or weakened military means that you're out of the game. I don't know. With that being said, let's continue with the article. Russia's high losses and wasted resources in Ukraine have made it less than a traditional military threat and will leave a reliant on asymmetric options such as nuclear weapons, cyber attacks, and space technology. I mean, space technology could be rockets, which could be retrofitted with a explosive. And other countries like China, the U.S. intelligence director said Wednesday at a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing, the director of national intelligence, Avery Haines, said Russia has suffered losses that will require years of rebuilding and leave it less capable of posing a conventional military threat, which is true between every war. I mean, even the United States, when we got into Afghanistan and Iraq, we were actually weakened because we were fighting. We were not losing as many people as the Ukrainians and the Russians were, but we were still losing people, which weakens our forces. So that's kind of stating the obvious. As a result, Haines said Russia will become even more reliant on asymmetric options such as nuclear, cyber, space capacity or capabilities, and on China. So she noted that Moscow will have a future trouble operating as a leader both in Russia and on the global stage because of both its weakness status as a military power and global backlash against Russia President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine a little over a year ago. Russia's strategic failure in Ukraine, from botched strategies to substantial casualties, estimated nearly 200,000 killed or wounded, have been well documented since the beginning of the invasion. I mean, is there really well documented? What's the sources? I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could be right, they could be wrong. Putin has made repeated nuclear threats as his invasion struggles to achieve the objectives, and his threat of using nuclear weapons have received widespread attention from condemnation. As recent as February, Russia suspended to participate in the major nuclear arms control pact with the U.S. I mean, we're funding the enemy of Russia. We're giving their enemy aid. So why would they want to participate? That would leave them in a weakened state. I mean, use some common sense. Let's see here. Participated in a major nuclear arm pact with the U.S., leaving a potential for expanded arsenal and the start of a dangerous new nuclear era. Discussions on Russian relations with China has also been ongoing, including speculation that Beijing might be considering sending lethal aid to Russia. They probably already are. The U.S. and other partner nations have warned of consequences if Beijing takes that step. China has, in turn, criticized the West of provisions of weapons to Ukraine. I mean, we're helping a non-NATO country, a NATO country that poses a threat in Russia's mindset. We're giving them aid, and we're telling China they better not help Russia. It's kind of like calling the kettle black. What was it? The pot calling the kettle black? Yeah, there we go. Though Beijing claimed to be neutral in war, expert says that China does not want to see Putin lose the fight or emerge humiliated by his outcome. China doesn't want to go to war or drag on with the attendant instability, but it doesn't want Russia to lose or a regime to collapse. Susan Thornton, former acting assistant secretary for East Asia and Pacific Affairs at the State Department, recently told Insider. But Thornton also said that Beijing doesn't want to get too involved in the war, and doubts that China would provide weapons to Russia, but there's a lot of Chinese companies in this big country. Things can happen, and if there are shipments, they'll be detected and things will get worse. What the hell did I say? But there are a lot of Chinese companies, and it's a big country. Things can happen. And if there are shipments, they will be detected and things will get worse. I really wish that they would just summarize, because that is really hard to read out loud. Haines' comment on Wednesday echoes sentiments of other U.S. officials on Russia's status after its war in Ukraine. In late February, the top Pentagon official told lawmakers Russia had lost the war and will emerge from the war in Ukraine as a shattered military power. What stats are we using? How are they losing? The official, Colin Kahl, under the Secretary of Defense of Policy, said last November that Russia will emerge, weaker than what it went in. I mean, you're just repeating yourself, insider. A top military expert has offered similar assessments that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been a strategic defeat. So far, the Kremlin has not been able to achieve its strategic level of objectives, and it has incurred significant costs. Russian military is going to have to rebuild. George Barrows, a military analyst at the Institute for the Study of War, told Insider on September. So this is more of speculation, more of opinion piece. I mean, of course, it goes without saying, anytime you have a major military offensive, you're going to have casualties, you're going to have equipment that's damaged, which is going to overall make you weaker, and it's going to take years to recover from that. I'm not debating that. I'm confirming from logical standpoint, when you have casualties that's assuming to be over 200,000, you don't exactly recover that within a couple of months. But at the same time, Russia is heavily populated. You also got a couple of allies in the warship pack. I think it's a warship pack that could aid Russia in sending troops. You also have China and you also have Iran. I'm pretty sure if Iran were to join into the fray, especially with Americans joining the fray, there'll be a foe that's not to take lightly. And if China steps in, you'll have your three axes of evil, according to the Western propaganda. So who knows how this is going to end? And I don't even know if America is going to come out on top. We may win the war if we were to get involved, but our reputation isn't too good because it's being perceived that we blew up the North Storm. This is the North Storm, yeah, North Storm pipeline, both one and two. I mean, that is the rumor. I think they kind of backtracked and said it was pro-Ukrainian, no, Ukraine, yeah, pro-Ukrainian forces or people that are favoring to them might have blown them up to shelter Biden's orders. But who knows what to say? Who knows what the truth that they're going to say it is? Which is very scary because that's what the book 1984 was all about. Is those that control the narrative control the truth, and those who tell you the truth. It may not be the truth, but it's the truth that you need to go along with. And I don't know what the truth is. I do know that we're being lied to. I think Ukrainians are lying to us. Yet Ukrainians threatening that we'll be fighting World War III if our politicians do not get on board and send them all the money and the arms to help them defeat Russia. So, I mean, I don't know who's winning or losing. I just know whenever the last battle is fought, that will determine the winner and the loser. And neither party is going to really win because Ukrainians also losing troops and equipment. Russia's losing troops and equipment. Ukraine is losing the population because of civilian casualties, which is unfortunately the case when a military goes and invades another country. There's going to be civilian casualties. Infrastructure is damaged and that's going to have to be rebuilt. Good thing BlackRock signed a deal with Zelensky to help them rebuild, so they're in good hands, right? That being said, that is my video for today. Leave a comment down below what your thoughts are. Do you think not the United States, but do you think Ukraine is winning the war? I mean, I guess the United States could be winning the war through proxy of Ukraine government fighting the proxy war with Russia. Or do you think Russia is winning? And do you think China is going to join the fray and send Russia equipment? Leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are. With that being said, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.